Hello, everyone, and good morning, and welcome to Uncivil Law. And for today's story, we're going to discuss the latest and greatest with Officer Dever, who you will recall from the Karen Read trial. Miss Dever told the FBI that she had a very clear memory of people looking at the car in the Sally Port for extended periods of time. She said she saw it on her monitor and that she saw them linger for what seemed like a weird period of time. And then on the stand, she said, "Oh no, not so much. That was a false memory. That didn't happen," and etc. and so forth. Well, Mr. Jackson, attorney for Miss Read, has decided to escalate this issue by recommending to the police commissioner in writing that Miss Dever be added to the Brady Giglio list, which is mildly hilarious. So we're going to read this and discuss as we go. Let's go ahead and get started with this. We see it is from the law firm of Worksman, Jackson, and Quinn in Los Angeles, California, dated July the 10th of 2025. And it is regarding Brady Giglio disclosure for Officer Kelly Dever. And as you can see, it was written to Michael Cox, Commissioner of the Boston Police Department. Exciting. Dear Commissioner Cox, pursuant to obligations established under Brady versus Maryland and Giglio versus United States, this letter serves as formal notice that a member of your police department, Officer Kelly Dever, must be included in the Brady database. Exciting. The grounds for mandatory inclusion in this database are outlined below. As you are no doubt aware, Officer Dever was a witness called by the defense in the matter of Commonwealth versus Karen Read, a high-profile murder case that was tried for the second time in Norfolk Superior Court in April 2025. This case received extensive national and international media coverage. Yes, sure did. Officer Dever's involvement in the case stemmed from her interview with agents from the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, during which interview Officer Dever explained in the agents in detail her observation of former Canton Police Chief Kenneth Berskowitz and Special Agent Brian Higgins of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives in the Sally Port garage of the Canton Police Department. She described seeing both individuals enter the Sally Port garage of the Canton Police Department, where the SUV in question was located on January 29th of 2022. Officer Dever described in intimate detail that she witnessed Chief Berskowitz and Mr. Higgins Agent Higgins really more properly, but whatever, go into the Sally Port and stay there for a wildly long time, and thought it was weird that the witness on the case, Higgins, would have access to a seminal piece of evidence in the investigation. That is pretty weird, right? That a witness in the case would have access to evidence in the same case. It's pretty odd, a little sus there. All right. During her lengthy interview with federal agents, she articulated her observations in considerable detail, including specifics about monitors she was viewing at the dispatch desk. Seemed to be kind of specific. She described at length her observations about two men entering the Sally Port with the SUV. Officer Dever claimed no issues with her memory, at least at the time, and she was clear with the agents that she made her observations in the afternoon or early evening of January 29th, 2022, at the end of her shift after the SUV had been secured in the Sally Port. I love how we put secured in quote marks. That's a nice touch. Subsequently, there too, the federal authorities provided a report of their interview with Officer Dever, both to the prosecution and defense in the Read case. In or about April of 2025, the defense issued a subpoena for Officer Dever to testify in the murder trial. And on June the 2nd of 2025, she was subsequently called and sworn to testify before the jury. During her testimony under oath, I love how we're rubbing this in. This is all very like This is all very just grind that in. During her testimony under oath, Officer Dever changed her statement, claiming not that she didn't make the statements to the federal agents, but that her observations of Chief Berskowitz and Mr. Higgins were a false memory. She maintained under oath and throughout her testimony that the events described to the federal agents never happened, that the memory she was recovering from was false, and the events she described did not actually occur. It is clear, therefore, that either one of two things is true. Hype. Either Officer Dever lied about having a false memory, or she actually suffers from a condition that subjects her to false memories. It's like, yeah, there's not a lot of other possibilities, right? Are there, man? Either she's lying about it being false, or it really is false, and she suffers from false memories. Either way, it's not great, right? In any case, or either case, her credibility and reliability as a law enforcement officer are irrefutably compromised. If she lied under oath, Officer Dever is guilty of perjury. If she truly suffers from false memories, she's unfit to be a police officer. Her reports, statements, and testimony can no longer be presumed to be accurate, and in any case, current or prior, involving Officer Dever must be reviewed accordingly. These circumstances bear directly on Officer Dever's credibility and represent impeachment evidence pursuant to Brady and Giglio. I mean, it kind of does, right? To some degree, it's like any testimonies that she'd ever give in the future, she'd be asked about, isn't it true that sometimes you have false memories, right? So any defense lawyer worth their salt would bring it up in any case that she's ever involved with again. So, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, and then she has to explain it away for the rest of her career. Yeah, good times. Given these facts, it is clear it is incumbent upon your department to immediately include Officer Kelly Dever in the Brady database, and all information surrounding her claimed false memories must be disclosed to defense in every case in which she's a witness or potential witness. As you're aware, both the prosecution and law enforcement share a constitutional obligation pursuant to the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment to affirmatively disclose exculpatory and impeachment evidence to the defense in every case. Yeah, the former being Brady, the latter being Giglio. Exculpatory, Brady. Impeachment, Giglio. Yeah. The Supreme Court has maintained that where reliability of a given witness may well be determinative of guilt or innocence, non-disclosure of evidence affecting credibility falls within the Brady rule. And then citing Giglio. Failure to disclose Officer Dever's intentionally false testimony and or her false memory condition would be a constitutional violation, subjecting both the prosecution and the Boston Police Department to severe sanctions, the least of which is the dismissal of every case she touches. Yeah, I mean, if it is in fact mandatory disclosure and they don't disclose it, then that could very well lead to dismissal for the constitutional violation. Yeah. If it is determined your department was on notice, which this letter formally provides, and the department does nothing to include Officer Dever in the Brady list and thereafter provide to the defense the exculpatory and impeachment materials in its possession, the sanctions can and will be far more extreme. Please confirm your receipt and understanding of this correspondence, along with confirmation that Officer Dever has been included in the Brady database. Yours very truly, Alan Jackson, CC Philip Owens, the Superintendent-in-Chief, and CC Miss Kelly Dever herself, of the police officer of the Boston Police Department. So that is all super exciting. So I obviously have no idea what the police will do in response to this exciting letter. I assume that they will provide no response to it. I assume they will not acknowledge it. But, yeah. But I assume that, anyone who does a search of Miss Dever will presumably, hopefully find this letter and get the information that way. So, But Alan Jackson's over here trying to escalate things, and he has no quit, as he said. So very, very exciting for all those materials. Well, my friends, that is it. That is the end of this relatively short stream. I hope you enjoyed this information. I certainly did. Until later, my friends, I've been Uncivil Law, and remember to keep it uncivil out there. Cheers for now.